Hello. So this video is for anybody who is notebook shopping. I very recently went on quite the notebook bender, and so I have a couple different notebooks to show you, and I decided to do some pen swatches in them so that if you have the same kind of pens that I have, you can make a better decision about what notebook you want to get based on like paper type, paper quality, and what pens you already have at home in the interest of needing to buy less stuff. So right here I have an A6 Stalogy. This one is the 365 pages. And then I also have this one is a B6 Wonderland. This one has like 576 pages because it has enough daily pages for a year plus the planner for the year, your monthly spreads. I really like these weekly spreads because the weekends are stacked, so you don't have these super skinny columns per day. But these notebooks both have different types of paper. So if you were trying to figure out if you wanted to go with a Stalogy notebook or a notebook that has Tomoe River paper, I believe both of these notebooks come with the thin paper technology that lets you put a lot of pages into the notebook with less space. But Tomoe River paper has like a coating on it that the Stalogy paper does not have. So even though they're both super thin, I've learned just now that they respond differently to different writing materials. I have a page here in the front. I swatched a bunch of different of my favorite pens here in the Stalogy, and then I did the same in the Wonderland. I'm really sad because one of my favorite gel pens of all time, I've learned, this Pentel Inner Gel. I love the color. It's navy blue, but in both the Stalogy and on the Tomoe River paper, it's one of the ones that I put a star next to, which means that it shows through pretty vividly. Here is the inner gel on the Tomoe River paper. Here is the inner gel on the Stalogy. So the Stalogy, what you'll see here is in both of these notebooks, you do have shadowing. Down the line, no matter whether you're using a gel pen, I have a couple fountain pens here too. That's where the Tomoe River paper really shines. The big difference between the Tomoe River paper and the Stalogy paper is that everything shadows through on the Stalogy pages. So if you hate shadowing, if that bothers you, and maybe Stalogy is not the notebook for you, Tomoe River paper though, when you're pressing down to write, you can see a shadow, but you have more options here with the Tomoe River paper. I have a sterling ink notebook coming in too that also has page numbers and also is Tomoe River paper. I'm hoping that the Wonderland 222 and the sterling ink have the same kind of paper because I really like this paper. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this Stalogy notebook because everything that I wrote on here showed through to the other side. So let's go with this space here. Let's see what I did. Okay, if you want to use the Stalogy, the Uniball pens, I put hearts next to. This is the Uniball 5mm. This one's the tiny one, the little cute fat one, the Uniball .38. Both of these work really well in the Stalogy. They also work splendid over here on the Tomoe River paper. But if you're specifically looking to get into the Stalogy notebooks, then your best bet is going to be the friction ball pen. I have two. These are actually really lovely. I haven't tried erasing in them though. Let me see if I can actually. Oh, it does. Look at that. Okay, so they really do erase the ink too. If Stalogy is your jam, you're going to want to use Uniball pens. You're going to want to use friction ball pens. This is a zebra fountain pen. It's disposable. So I don't think I haven't figured out if I can like actually refill this with ink. But I picked this up, and the zebra fountain pen and the zebra Sarasa clip pens don't show through to the other side. So you do have a couple options if you love the Stalogy, because what's cool about the Stalogy is that the grid is really faint. The Stalogy notebook has beautiful grid. The grid in the Stalogy notebook is much less bold than the grid in the Wonderland. And the time stamping on the side is much less noticeable as well. You don't have to write in the date. You can just circle it. In the Wonderland, you have to write in. And in the Wonderland, the numbers, they give you options if you want to like use it for planning. The left side of the page in the Stalogy notebook are much tinier and much less noticeable, whereas here they're very bold. But I do love how the Wonderland comes with numbered pages. The Stalogy notebook does not come with numbered pages, so it could be harder to use this for like common placing unless you're going to do like a color coding and like tabbies. You could still do common placing in the Stalogy, but I feel like it's easier with pages that have numbers because then you could do a key at the front. So back to our pen swatches here. If you like the Stalogy notebook, your best bet is going to be using friction ball pens, Uniball, and then finer. Here we have a Jet Line and a Pilot Juice Up. These don't shadow too bad, but any type of brush pen, forget about it. You can get away with the lightest ones, the lightest color brush pens. Let's see what 493 does on the Stalogy. Let's see. Just do one swipe, because if you do two, it's over with. Let's see. So we have another, yeah. So that one showed through on both of them. It really just depends on if you are bothered by shadowing on the back of the page. But you still have more options. Both pages are thin, so there's going to be a certain amount of shadowing no matter what you use. But the cool thing about Tomoe River paper is I have 3 different fountain pens here. The only one that didn't show through really bad is the disposable, the cheapest fountain pen. So if you have like a fine, light color fountain pen, you can get away with it in the Stalogy, but anything medium or darker ink, it's going to show through. Whereas Tomoe River paper, all my fountain pens, even this really watery one, I just bought this. I really wanted that Raven pen, but it was like 200. I'm not doing that. So I got this one, and I just filled it with ink. This is my first time buying my own ink, and it's pretty watery. I love the shading, and it's nice. Like, look at that. It barely shows through unless you press down, and you can see there's some shadowing, but it's really nice. The only thing that's really tearing up through the page in the Tomoe River paper is the Energel, the Pilot G2. If the Pilot G2 is your pen of choice, I love the way the ink comes out of this. It's really smooth, but it's gonna show through pretty. So here I have a ballpoint pen right next to the Pilot G2. Pretty big difference in the shadowing. Ballpoint pen sits on top. G starts coming through the page. Very hit or miss with brush pens. I have a couple different brush pens here. This one is Pentel Touch. Blue black. That shadows through pretty bad in the Tomoe River paper. And then super bad. Like, don't use brush pens in the Stalogy notebook. They are too wet and it's gonna go straight through the page. And I was really hurt by my Pentel Energel because the Pentel Energel really goes through in both of these notebooks. So hopefully this was helpful. I also want to show you my favorite notebook of all time. Blows both of these out of the water. It's also Japanese paper, but in my opinion, it's the best notebook I've ever seen in my life. And it is the Kokyo, the Sufa soft-ring. So this paper is different because it's not that super thin page technology, right? This notebook has 80 pages in it, and it's half as thick as the Stalogy notebook that has 365 pages in it. So you're not getting that super crinkly fine, super thin paper in here. But because of that, you have a lot more options for writing. So here, the paper is not quite as thin, but I've swatched everything that I swatched in the other ones, and you get it's a lot more seamless. There's your Pentel Energel, I can already tell. I love this pen so much, but it's so, I don't know if it's watery or what, liquid gel ink, I don't know. But there it is, coming through a little bit. It still looks much better in this paper than it does in the thinner page notebooks. But this paper is a little bit thicker, just a tiny bit thicker, and it has a really smooth finish, even more smooth than the Tomoe River paper. So in order of smoothness, you have Stalogy, which is basically like super thin, super dry paper. It has more of a grip on the surface, if you will. Next, you have Tomoe River paper, super thin, very light coating, a little more smooth than the Stalogy. Then you have Kokuyo paper. So because of that coating on here, you have a lot more options for things that you can write with, but you cannot fit as many pages into a notebook as you can with the other two. So there's something to be sacrificed with each of these notebooks. The reason I love this notebook so much is because the rings are smushy. So when you're writing, you can use both sides of the pages and you're not going to get that wrist discomfort. And this notebook comes with a really firm, it's very flexible. Like you can really flex this notebook, but the plastic is still really firm. Like it really protects the pages. It's a really thick piece of very flexible plastic, and I love that it comes with this strap already on the notebook. This is my favorite notebook of all time. Like the best notebook that I've ever found. It has a little bit smaller grid too. The grid's a little smaller compared to the Stalogy. The Stalogy has the biggest grid out of all three of these, but it's also the lightest grid, which is nice. Stalogy, you can actually see the grid through on the next page. The page is so thin, but I love that the grid is so light. And the Stalogy, there's something to be loved about all of these notebooks, but your writing utensil options in the Stalogy is the most limited compared to all three of these notebooks. My favorite notebook paper is definitely Merriman paper. This is my A6 Sep Cooler notebook. This is a Merriman brand notebook, so it has like this really flexible waterproof cover. This has 100 pages in it. With maybe I should do the swatches on here too, just so I can show you. Let's do the Pentel Energel. I really love this pen. I'm so mad it goes through everything because it's like my favorite pen in the whole world. Like the shadowing, if you can get past shadowing and you love fountain pens, Tomoe River paper obviously, but everybody knows that. I'm like the last person to find out. That's not a unique discovery, but I just discovered it. So maybe, let me see if the Pentel, because this is the worst performing pen in all of these notebooks. The Merriman Company is another Japanese stationery brand that I am super obsessed with. Very similar paper to Kokuyo, in that it is definitely not Tomoe River paper. It is significantly thicker, but has a really nice coating on it. Okay, so let's try the worst pens. Let's try the worst pens and see if there's any different. Now the friction ball, this is your go-to. If you want to use a gel pen in these notebooks, this one, for some reason, maybe it's because of the fact that it is erasable, I know this one is gonna do great. So I'm already got a heart next to it. Okay, let's see. Moment of truth. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Dang, see? All right. Because these are our worst performing pens and they look beautiful. I think Merriman paper is the best. Hold on. Okay, so we're on a different category now. Because, again, this is 100 pages and it's almost the same thickness as the Stalogy, which has 365 pages. So we're comparing apples to oranges right now from a paper perspective, because of course things aren't going to show through as much in the Kokuyo and the Merriman notebooks because the paper is thicker. So you're buying Stalogy and you're buying Tomoe River paper because you want a notebook that can fit more pages into less space, right? You're buying Merriman notebooks, you're buying Kokuyo notebooks for this amazing paper texture. So less pages in a notebook for sure, because this is 100 pages right here. This is an A6 Sept Cooler from Merriman Spiral, but it's nice because you can, like, you know, boop. You don't need as much writing space. The A6 Stalogy is actually like a tiny bit smaller, but you need a whole, you need a lot more space to write in this because you can't flip it on its back. So there's an advantage with spiral notebooks, but again, very different paper. 100 pages versus 365 pages. Huge difference in page thickness. But the downside of fitting more pages into a smaller, look, this is the front. Oh my God. There's nothing on this page. You can see everything that I wrote on the next page. If you press down, okay? That is not gonna happen. Oh, okay, so you can kind of, but it's huge difference. You can't read what I wrote. In this versus, and this is not through the back of the page. This is through the next page on top, okay? So I bought this only because it was on sale and I wanted to try it. Because I felt it in store when I was at Baumkuchen and I was like, But that was because I really like the way that the papers with the coating feel. But if you're outside of Stalogy and you're outside of that Tomoe River paper, you're fitting a lot less pages into your notebook compared. So it just depends on what's more important to you. If you're really bothered by ghosting, but you really love Japanese stationery, your best two companies are Merriman and Kokuyo. But if you want more pages in your notebook, more pages, way more, like 3 times the pages in your notebook, and you do not care about this, then you could do your Stalogy or take it up a notch and do your Tomoe River paper. Because the wonderful thing about Tomoe River paper is that you're going to get some shadowing. This is all fountain pen on the next page. You're going to get some shadowing, but your fountain pens are not going to leak through. This is another page where I did nothing on this side and a page full of fountain pen on the back. And so when you press through, you're going to see that, but it's kind of nice, you know. For example, here, a daily spread on the opposite side. And so even though these stickers are super dark, you just see that shadow on it. So it's like, now when you press down, that's when you can kind of actually read that sticker through the other side. But there is 570 pages in this notebook, whereas this is only 100 pages. And look how thick that is in comparison. You can fit so much more paper in a notebook when you have Tomoe River paper, this super thin paper. It just matters what you care about. This is Kokuyo. This is my favorite notebook of all time because of the soft rings and the strap that comes with it. The paper is thicker, but you can write with just about anything in here and be okay. You know what I'm saying? The Pentel Energel It's coming through, okay? It's coming through. But the Merriman paper is winning, okay? The Merriman paper, that Pentel Energel, this is up at the top. Let me just do a boop, boop, boop. So that was me lingering on the page for a long time. Now, when you linger for a long time, it's going to come through. But that's the Pentel Energel, and it's doing much better in these. So if you have a favorite pen, that's the thing too. If you have a favorite pen, it's important to know which paper you can use. This Pentel Energel is going to tear through your Tomoe River paper, and it's going to show through. It's going to show through like you wrote on the same side in the Stalogy. So don't even. If you like gel pens, don't do it. You can get away with fountain pens if you write really fast. But if you linger on that paper, it's going to come through. That's fountain pen. That's my Kaweco Sport. No matter what you write with in the Stalogy notebook, it is going to show through the other side. That is ballpoint pen right there. But it's not terrible like a brush pen or a fountain pen. The fountain pens are going to leak. It's coming through. Like, that's the Pilot G2 right there. If you don't mind that, that's the Uniball right here. And the Pilot G2 does show more than Uniball. Uniball is really killing it. The Uniball and the friction pens. If you like Stalogy, if you like being able to fit 300 pages into an inch worth of notebook, get you some Uniball pens. They're very cute. They're very cute clicky pens. Uniball 1, and get you a friction pen from Pilot. This is 365 pages. And it's like the same thickness as this friction ball if you include the clip, which is crazy. But also, the pages are so thin, you can see what you're thinking through the next side. If you want to try this, your best bet is the really lightly colored Tombos. Stay away from brush pens and use your Uniballs and your friction balls, because these are the best pens for thin paper. They do not show through. And then you also have your Juice Up and your Jet Line. They did pretty good. Everything's going to shadow. Nothing is not going to shadow in the Stalogy, up to and including a ballpoint pen. But your Juice Up, your Jet Line, your Uniball, and your friction balls, these are your best go-to pens. Okay? If you hate that and you want to avoid shadowing and you really love this coating on the Japanese, I would never go back. I would never go back. I don't know how I ever lived without this paper, to be honest. This is your Merriman and this is your Kokuyo. A lot less shadowing. Don't mind my onigiri stickers. I am obsessed. I'm getting distracted. What was I talking about? Oh, yes. Kokuyo. Kokuyo, if you love coated Japanese paper and you don't mind a thicker notebook or a notebook with less pages in it, then I recommend Kokuyo. This is the best notebook in the whole world. This notebook right here, best notebook in the whole world. Look for the O and you're good to go. But this notebook only has 80 pages in it. It does come with a band though. I really love this. I could just do this all day. Look at that. What was I talking about? Okay. So again, much thicker paper, but it has that sweet, buttery coating on it that makes me reach for these. Much thinner paper. We have Stalogy and Wonderland 222. This is not Tomoe River paper. This makes a big difference because you can use all your fountain pens in this. Forget about it. Forget about your fountain pens. If you have some Stalogy notebooks, don't even do it. Except for this one, the Zebra fountain pen disposable. Okay, I kind of got away with that in this one. If you have a fine nib and the color is light enough and you have that Stalogy, you can get away with it. You can get away with it. But that Kaweco, I lingered too long on the page and it's darker and it started bloop, bloop, bloop. Let me see. I'm going to write slower with the Zebra. So I did it real juicy. And that's where you start to get those little dots. Wherever you linger, it's going to come through the page. And it does not do that in Tomoe River paper. So this is for people who are looking at the Stalogy. You can get away with it, but you better write like you know what you're talking about. Because when you start slowing down and getting intentional with your writing, it's going to start leaking through the page. I have no idea what type of ink is in this zebra. It's just a random fountain pen I picked up. This is the first one I ever had, and I thought it was cute. This does not go through in the This is your best bet if you want to find. I don't know. It's hit or miss. It's hit or miss in the Stalogy. I'm really enjoying the Tomoe River paper in my Wonderland, but I just got this Stalogy notebook, and I am very limited in what type of writing instruments I can use if I wanted to utilize both sides of the page. I think I'm just going to have to only write on one side of the page if I want to write with, because everything shows up so beautifully in here. But if you want to really utilize your notebook and use both sides of the page and this bothers you, I only bought this because it was on sale. That's the only reason I was like, I couldn't help myself. But there you have it. These are my favorite notebooks. Let's take this one out because I don't know how I feel about Stalogy just yet. Very beautiful, very thin paper. Lovely. It's amazing how much paper they can get in this notebook, especially when you compare it to different brands. But you're very limited in what you can write with. I don't know. So it just depends on what you want to use it for. I have a sterling ink notebook coming in the mail, a blank undated notebook that has numbered pages that I want to turn into like a mini commonplacing book. So I'm gonna compare this to that, because I wonder if Tomoe River paper is different company by company. And this is just the grid. This is just how the notebook comes. You can see those numbers through the other side of the page. If that gets on your nerves, I wouldn't do this type of paper. But embracing how much you can put in a notebook, this is 500 pages. For almost 600 pages, 570. That's amazing. But there are sacrifices to be made with this type of paper. I hope this helps somebody. I feel like I've been rambling. Get you a friction ball pen is the moral of the story. You can write in anything. I don't understand. I think it's because the ink is erasable to avoid everything that I just talked about. If you want to write in whatever notebook that you want to write in, especially when it comes to Japanese stationery, get you a friction ball pen and a uniball pen. And surprisingly, you can get away with this brush pen, this Fudenosuke. That's how I'm going to say it, Fudenosuke. If you like brush pens, you can, now you're going to see it. You're going to see it. But this is a ballpoint pen right here at the bottom. This is ballpoint pen. And this is a Fudenosuke brush pen, and they show up exactly the same. Isn't that interesting? Oh, and this one in the middle, the Bic Gelocity, they come in lots of different colors. Let's do this color. Oh, I wrote too intentionally. I'm getting some dots. You can kind of get away with the Gelocity and a couple, the Fudenosuke brush pen, but not this Pentel brush pen. Don't you pick up no Pentel brush pen in the Stalogy or the Papermate. The Pentel or the Papermate is a no. The Tombow, you can do Tombow brush pens, the lighter ones, or this black one must be really fast drying. But Pentel and Papermate brush pens, they're out for the Stalogy. And there's your Pilot G2, just so you can see. You can see it, but it's not leaking through the page. But that Uniball, look how beautiful that is. You can barely see it. Oh, look at that. You can do, okay, the Uniball Signo and the Uniball 1. If you have a Uniball pen, I don't know what they're doing with the pens over there at Uniball. But these work. These work. The Uniball Signo and the Uniball 1. Both of these work in the Stalogy. Both of these work. Put them Papermate pens down. I don't know what they're doing over there at Papermate. But it's not going down in the Stalogy if you're bothered by this. But these Uniball pens, okay. And they come in other colors. That's so nice. These Paper Mates, don't even think about it. If you got these at the crib, don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. And it's sad because I have them in like every color. And the inner gels. The inner gels and the Paper Mates is a no. But maybe on the Big Gelosity. Definitely on the Uniballs. Oh, the Juice Up. The Juice Up works pretty nice too. Quick drying brush pens work well. And don't even think about the Pentel Inner Gel. Don't think about it. It's so beautiful. I'm so upset. And your fountain pens, hit or miss, mostly miss in the Stalogy. The Uniball Signals come in a lot of colors, so these are cute. These Uniballs doing their thing. It makes sense though, because it's a Japanese brand. Uniball's doing their thing. And what was the other one I just said? I forgot. What was it? Oh, Friction Ball. Uniball and Friction Ball really doing their thing. Both Japanese pens, so that makes sense. Everything else, if you're writing in Stalogy, forget about it. But it's beautiful. I love the cover. It's very sleek. It's very minimal. And this grid is almost non-existent. So there's so many things to love about the notebook, but you have to sacrifice a lot of your pens if you're somebody that's got 500 pens like me. So just things to keep in mind. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching. And I'm going to do an update when my Sterling ink notebook gets here, because that notebook supposedly has Tomoe River paper in it as well. So that will be my next video. I'm going to be comparing the Wonderland 222 paper with the Sterling ink paper to see if there's a difference. So that'll be next.